It's January of 1918, and snow is still falling throughout Russia. It's some starvation, which affected the recruiting values for the Russians. They lost 5 recruit points, and also some political gain, 1 point for the whites. Total political value now is at 44, which is pretty high, I think. It still gives it to the Reds in terms of who's got the slant, so they get 2 special political option chits versus 1 for the whites. What's happened? Things have kind of stagnated over here in Bessarabia. It's not like the Russians are going anywhere; they're just dying, but nobody wants to attack. The Romanians go away once they take that city. I mean, not right away, but that's sort of their time trigger. So they don't really have any hurry to do so. The Ukrainians pulled back a little bit. Turned out that, what was it, Kirov there, didn't have enough, he didn't have any supplies, so he couldn't attack. So they kind of lucked out there. They might have gotten hurt. Denikin has, he invested Rostov, and that forced, well, now, what do we have there? Budini. Budini was, sorry about that, was put in command there in place of, who's this? I don't know. Somebody I can't pronounce, who really sucks and has been given command of Moscow because, you know, that's what you do with people who aren't very good. I did have a little bit of a problem. We wiped out the out-of-supply unit. I did have a little bit of a problem with the whites, and I almost always have this every game with them down there. They have more units than they can command, which means they start suffering attrition, and I lost a unit permanently because of that. Lost a bunch of Russian units, Bolshevik units permanently, but you know, that happens. One good one though, which kind of sucks. So anyway, we're trying to look for a line here. Right now there isn't one. There's sort of a scattered defense, and then there's this big gap. When we get over to the Siberians, we're seeing that the Bolsheviks are kind of crumbling there too. They're being pushed back slowly but surely. And again, trying to look for a place where they can defend. There's not a lot of good defensive terrain. They're going to fall back to the woods eventually. But they have to do it kind of in a coordinated fashion. Now, the game operates on kind of a an activation type system, where one player gets to activate a headquarters, then the other player gets to activate a headquarters. There isn't a lot in there to modify that, but there doesn't really need to be in order to make the game very, very difficult to do any kind of coordinated actions. You can coordinate 2 headquarters on a die roll, but there's 3 here. So, you know, that northern one's going to have to move first or whatever, and then I have to get lucky on a die roll. Finally, up in the very north, Miller advanced about as far as maybe he'll get. Trotsky is putting up some defenses, and I mean, usually that's really difficult to get through. And the Allies are facing Stalin, and they're really actually heavily outnumbered up there. Some reinforcements came just automatically. Over in Murmansk, Miller had to rebuild a unit, which is kind of an expensive proposition. Now, I'm going to try at some point to go more into the details of the play of the game. I'm not sure if that's going to have its own set of its own film, whatever. It's not that complex. Or if I can actually just fit that in briefly on the wrap. We'll see. It depends on if somebody wants it. You know, if somebody requests it, I'll do it. I've done that before. But if there's no particular request, I don't see any reason to do it. It's not that complex a game, but like I said, the big thing in the combat tends to be the modifiers to combat, and those are based on the supplies you have, the shock value you're able to inflict. Whether or not you can use armored trains, naval gunfire, all kinds of things like that can give you lots of die roll bonuses. The charts themselves are, this is one of the great things about it, are pretty stable actually. There's not a lot of movement between columns. You don't see these big attacker eliminated, defender eliminated type entries. What you get is step losses, which are just marked with the little casualty markers. And then the defender may have an option to retreat. If they don't want to retreat, they take enhanced losses. I believe it's 3 times what they'd take otherwise. Yeah. It depends on the die rolls, but usually you're getting die rolls. You're getting enough die roll modifiers to make it so that the defender is forced to retreat. You just do that. You combine your supplies that you expend and your leader values and your shock values, etc. So the game becomes very, very offense oriented, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if I've seen anything that favors the offensive player so well as this does. Things like river lines, good defensive terrain can do a lot though to protecting you. All right, I'm gonna let this one go. We'll see what happens in the near future. Events-wise, I've already gone through that. Not much happens. Got these cool little stable events, which are just like, oh, you failed. That you could draw. All right.